Sound Shop Vlogs. Oops. Welcome to Sound Shop Vlogs Live. This is our live show. We're going to try to do these Wednesdays and Fridays. Fridays with the whole gang. Wednesday, Grunie, Steve, they're going to do their own little thing. We'll see what happens, how it goes. Today we got Grunie with us. And Grunie, he's been working with us for a while. He's touring. He's toured the world. He's a young guy. He's a wonderkind. He's toured the world doing sounds. He's a digital aficionado. He's going to show you. What are you going to show us today?
Today we're going to look at processing playback tracks.
All right. And if you're new to this channel, this is Sound Shop Vlogs. In the past, it was vlogging. Now it's live shows. You can see our back catalog. We're a small sound company from Jersey, but we have some big rigs. We do some big things. You could watch our back catalog, a lot of ball busting, goofing around. But I'm going to let Grunie take it away from here.
What's up, everybody? So today I just want to do a quick little, it's called a tutorial, just demonstration of some little tips and tricks you can use to help your playback track stick out better in your mix. Playback is a huge part of a lot of bands' productions now, and so it can be tricky if the arrangement's not right to get them to stick out or fit or keep from covering something else. So I'm going to try to do some audio demos, and hopefully you can hear what. Hey, Ankit. Hopefully you can hear what I'm trying to get across here. If not, sorry. We'll take some questions after that, and hopefully this goes well. All right, cool. So let's dive in. So I'm going to scroll over here. I use Studio One for this because if I was using Pro Tools, my computer would crash all the time. So basically, this session I have as an artist I was just on tour with, we have four stereo channels of playback. I have vocals, keys, percussion, and guitars, and I just have an all subgroup here. What's interesting is that even though I do have left and rights, and you'll see I just have these, the individual tracks broken out over here, and these are just groups I've made to have a single handle on it. What's interesting is even though they're they are left and right, sometimes the content they're being given is still just a dual mono. So it can be tricky sometimes, and I think it's very important to make space in the center there, so that can cloud you up or whatever. So I'm gonna run this through with just the tracks with the processing I have going on, and then we'll just unfold what I'm doing to make some more space in the middle and get them to all stick out. All right, so this is just a little excerpt of a song I'm going to keep using, and here we go. Cool. So kind of a ballady song, but you can see that I have all four of the tracks are feeding info during that section of the song. So basically, without all the processing on, if I just run that section again, you'll hear that it's a lot cloudier. There's there's a lot of masking going on. The stereo image is not as defined. So let's just run that again. This is with everything out. Cool. So I hope this is coming across what you can hear. Let's see. I should be doing this mix on the wing. Yeah, no, I don't have a wing. I have an X32 over there, but that doesn't have the tools I need to be able to do this kind of processing. Only SD8 and 10s in the vlogs. Yeah, those are our kind of workhorses. The SD8 and SD10, and the Avids still pop up on Rider, so we have to rent them from time to time again. But see. All right. So you've heard what I have going on there. So let's break down what's going on. You'll see that there's it looks like a bunch of stuff, but it's actually not a ton. This is Studio One, by the way. I think somebody had asked what this is. And a lot of this stuff you can do on just your basic channel EQ. What's cool about this F6 plugin, and let me know if you guys can see I just opened the plugin. Can you guys see that? Somebody let me know. It looks like not in the preview screen here. Give me 1 second. Sorry, everybody. Hang on here. And it looks like my Chrome is frozen. So, all right. Well, we'll keep going anyways, and wait until this stops unresponding. So, uh, what I would be showing you if Chrome was responding. Oh, here it goes. Here we go. I'm just going to exit my screen real quick. This broadcast takes up a lot of CPU on my computer, so I'm just going to share my entire screen, and then hopefully that will do what we want. Here we go. All right, so Ted, if you want to get my screen up there. So it's going to be a bit it's going to be a bit like Spaceballs, where everything that you see that's happening now is right now. So, okay, so yeah, there we go. It looks like you guys can see the F6 right now. Cool. So this is on the vocal tracks. If you guys aren't familiar with this plugin, it's a dynamic EQ, but I'm not necessarily using the dynamic EQ section of this, more so than I'm using the mid and side abilities that it gives you. So if you can see on this 3, it says M and S. So each band can be set to be mid side or affect the whole stereo field. And obviously get high and low pass filters there. So I use that to start out. This LA2A, it's just a nice thing on the vocals. And then Vitamin, if you guys don't know this, even if you don't use the harmonic exciter bands, there's another mid-side, I believe it's mid-side element of it, this width knob here on stereo tracks, and that basically will, as you turn it clockwise, gives you width by turning the center down and the sides up. That's how at least what I understand of how it works. So that kind of stuff can help you gain some width in the stereo field there. So let's listen to just the vocal tracks here, and we're gonna just put these all back in one at a time and just see what's going on. This phase meter, by the way, I'll leave open so you can see what's going on with the stereo field. So this M here is the center, and then the screen will, the display on the screen will get wider as the field increases. Cool. So let's run this little passage again. Fall in love, I'm not used to soft spoken, chipper and choking, Jessica. Cool, I'm gonna throw F6 in. She said, so I don't know if you guys can hear that too well, but basically cleaning up this 1K area, and then moving, getting rid of some of this 250 energy in just the sides, which is this. And then this 3 band is around 400. Getting rid of some of that in the middle. 6 is doing this kind of thing. So that's what's going on with F6. You can see it's not really doing too much widening on the phase meter here. And we'll pop the LA2A in. And that's just kind of not really using it that heavily. I'm just popping off 3 dB at most, just kind of giving it some glue, as you would do with this stomp. And again, with something like this, you could do with any compressor. It's awesome using this one. And now let's look at what Vitamin's doing. This is where you can really see that it widen out. So before I engage it, you can see I'm doing a little bit of enhancement on these 2 top bands, and I'm widening these out. So keep your eye on this phase meter, and hopefully this is in stereo, but if not, just keep your eye on the meter. So So I'm going to pop this in. Here we go. Cool. So I don't know how well you guys can hear that, but it's there's a lot more room in the middle now that you can fit other elements in. Because I also, in addition to these tracks, we have keys and acoustic guitar during the song, the vocals, drums, etc. Um, so it's important to kind of make room for that. Let's move on to the keys now. I'm just going to do these one by one. Um, so this one gets interesting now because what I have happening is this particular track has two elements happening. There's a sub bass and then there's a piano part happening. So I'll just let you hear that. So I don't know how well you guys can hear that. There's a sub bass part and then there's that piano part. And if you can hear, when the piano was recorded, it wasn't really high pass too much. So you can hear all that hammer noise like that. There's a lot of it around 200. And when this is just by itself, there's, stuff that goes down even to 90. So because that stuff's going to become very cluttery, I can't just high pass it because the sub is the main bass element in this song. So what I've done here is I've used the expander part of F6, and I've made a shelf that expands when the sub bass plays, and otherwise it's just acting as a high pass filter basically. So let's pop this in. Let's hear what this is doing. Cool. So we'll move on now to Vitamin again. And again, on this one, I don't think I'm even doing any, I'm not even doing any enhancement. I'm just using this for the stereo width. And this is cool because you can do it, it's not like center or any kind of, mid-side leveler where it just, this is frequency dependent, which is cool. So like, I might want to, make my sub bass like super mono or something like that. So that's why I gravitate toward this. So let's hear this piano again with Vitamin on. And again, just keep your eye on the phase meter there if you can't hear the stereo width through the broadcast. One thing I do want to show you real quick is listen. I forgot to show you this before. Let's listen to what happens when I pop out this shelf. You hear all the clutter from the hammer noise. Cool. The one thing I do want to point out too is that I don't have all these tracks hard pan. They are there's like some progressive spread going on. So the vocals you see I have going about let's say that what we would call hard left and right is 100 on this. So the vocals are around 80, keys are 60-ish, percussion I have hard left and right, and that kind of fits in with the overheads, the cymbals, and then the guitar part is actually offset for this song in particular, and I'll move that back when it's doing other things. But for the part that it's playing in this song, it made more sense for it to be offset. And so on a digicard and LV1, I'll actually have I'll gang channels for these because I find it easier to to play with the panning when they're when it's two mono channels than to use the stereo width control. Sometimes I'll do that too, but for these tracks, it's easier to leave them as mono tracks and just gang them, and then I can break the gang and play with the pan if I need to. So if you had them all hard panned, it would just be this hard left and right stuff, and they'd still be on top of each other, even if you had the mid side stuff going on. So the fact that these are not all hard panned to the same place, or just panned the same spot in general, is a big part of why this is working how it is. So let's move on to the perk. There's not a lot happening in the mid side of that because there's not a lot of mid content. I don't even have the phase meter on it. I have it going to the drum reverb. We'll play this with drums in a second, but this is just what the perk's doing. And just a high pass filter to catch whatever. In other songs that this will have this more than just a shaker and clap in it, so that high pass filter is just to catch it, take a little of the edge off of it. And drum verb's muted right now, but if it wasn't, it's part of the group. I won't unmute that quite yet. Cool. So that's the perk, and then the guitar. The guitar is interesting. It's hard. It's recorded hard pan, and each side is actually playing a different part, which is why I had the panning offset in the actual channels. So let's just have a listen. I was playing with the smack attack before. I'm not actually using that. I'll just disable that, even though it's already out of the circuit. So on F6 before, just high and low pass filtering. Again, we're doing some MIDI Q on here. So let's listen to what the guitar is doing, just without any of these plugins in. Oops. Here comes F6. You can hear it, sorry. You can hear that I thinned it out a lot because that low mid content is coming from something else. If you just listen to what I'm cutting off in the filter. Again, if I solo like this stuff, you can hear that it's just the center I'm taking. I do kind of want that in the sides on this low pass filter. Just the very tippy top, because there's we have a synth that's being played as well. We have the shakers and the cymbals, so I don't really need that content. All right, and then I'm going to add in, I have this S1 imager, and this looks a bit crazy, but what I'm doing is you can offset both sides a little bit differently than panning or level would. You see the width I've left alone. I'm just using this to kind of center out what's happening. So if I pop this in, so I'm using it to kind of bring that left side in a little bit, especially like the low end of it, the low mid part of it. And just so you guys know, there's nothing happening. There's nothing happening on the subgroup for the tracks. It's just as they are. Cool. So let's listen to that again with everything in and just see what we've done. Cool. So we can hear each part fits in its own way. Nothing's really that cluttered or on top of each other. They all kind of have their own space and sit nicely. Before we go any further, and I gave you a little bit of context, anybody have any questions? I just realized you guys can all see this as well. Can I EQ drums? I'm not really going to go into drums today. I'll play them as a whole, and I might pop through a couple of things, but I'm going to save that for another episode. Can I say in? Sorry. Any mid-side? I'm not doing any mid-side compression. I'm mostly doing EQ in the mid-side, and some of that EQ is dynamic EQ, but there's no actual mid-side compression. Like the mid's getting compressed and the sides are getting compressed separately. The stream is mono, right? I did not know that. Sorry. So yeah, I guess use the phase meter. Sorry about that, guys. We did see this, and it was stereo what I heard when we tried it before. Cool. So I'm going to throw some more elements into this. Oops. Hang on. What was that other one? How much tweaking do you do? Can you go and say, throw and go bands? Not so much, because this takes time to dial in and knowing the songs. Um, so this is more relevant to an artist that you're working with and have snapshots with. This is not necessarily something you would do if you're walking up to a console every day, a different console every day. This is more of a programming thing. But even knowing the parts of your tracks is important. Just so if you just throw a high pass filter up. But I found even recently that in my keys tracks, that hammer noise was just in there cluttering stuff up because I had the high pass just kind of set and forget because there was sub bass coming in and then there wouldn't be in some part. And I realized, by moving that throughout my snapshots that I was able to clean up my mix a lot more. EQ or compression first? Depends. Usually EQ first. Um, Sometimes compression first. On the SSL channel strip, I'll run it usually comp and gate first because I don't want what I'm EQing to be triggering the gate. Like I'm boosting top end, I don't want that to be triggering the gate, especially on drums. Um, Clear my RAM cache, stream bit smooth screen share. Yeah, yeah, I did actually, and it's eating up a lot of CPU. Uh, Basic question. Yeah. Jersey stand. I'm a little bit further back. Neat tip. Yes, I do. As much as I can. I think as you guys know, I carried an LB1 last year on this tour. And I use it as much as I can with Digigo. I won't put it on every channel, um, because there just isn't a need to. And a lot of this stuff we can do on the Digico channel strip. Like some of the dynamic EQ stuff. It won't necessarily be mid side, but you can do that. Um, yeah, I do like using the plugins when I need it to do something that console won't do. Um, Most of the time, I feel like I can get where I need to be with the EQ. If I need something more than that, like on this, I won't play this vocal, but I need some more tools than what most consoles would provide. Can I talk about the No, the plugins are not useless in throw and go gigs, especially if you have your own preset library built up or like a C6 or something. So, like these particular techniques that I'm showing off here are more meant toward a show that you're really dialing in. But yeah, no, I'll throw in like an 1176 or LA2A C6. Max volume is great for a one-off throw and go with vocals because it really locks it in there. PSE all the time. PSE, 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 PSE is a fantastic. It's modeled on the Neve 5045. If you guys are familiar with that. Um, can I show you the stereo panning again, please? Yes. So if this is what you meant by show you the panning. So it's not like incremental or anything. I was just listened and found a spot that I wanted each of the different track elements to fit into. Um, so it made sense. The vocals are all backing vocals, so I didn't want those to be those are supposed to be kind of big and wide. And I didn't want them to be too close to the vocals or the onstage vocals because I will pan. I just loaded these in. This file originally, just for some context, was as a challenge to myself to. I dragged a lot more inputs in than I usually have, but I challenged myself before to just do a mix with kick snare and overheads. And my one bass DI. I usually had two guitar mics. So but usually this other vocal would be panned like that. So I wanted the backing vocal tracks to be further away from that, and really be like a choir almost, because that's how they usually are in the rest of the songs in this set. Keys, same deal. Um, One of them, I believe, they are a bit wider than the actual. I have two keys on stage that are submixed, just because we had to save inputs, and those are a little bit narrower than the track keys are. Percussion is mostly like shakers. Sometimes there's even a piano part in there or two. This is an interesting band because sometimes there's a couple songs where there'll be a piano part coming, like an actual piano part coming down the perk tracks, a synth part on the keys, and then on the keys will also be playing a part all at the same time. So it's interesting to juggle that sometimes. Maybe I'll play a sample of that just to show you how I manage that. And then guitar. Um, this guitar is usually either sub bass or parts like we just heard. I just have this panned offset like this for this one song, for this example, but normally it would be usually about that width, maybe probably a little wider than that, and matched. So uh, my hats and toms are usually around there, so I probably would. I usually think it would be a little wider than 48. Green do I ever mix with onboard effects only? Quite a lot, quite a lot. If I really just need to get something up and going, quickly, I'll it depends on how we're set up and what's going on. But yeah, with an X32, I don't bother because my X32 in particular is not on the new firmware, and I don't own a server, and it's just not worth the hassle for me to do it that way. Or if we're using a Yamaha or something, or if it's not available, and sometimes it doesn't, you don't need it. Um, this is not an all the time thing. PSC I like as to use as much as I can, or if the console has something similar because it really cleans up your mix. It's a vocal gate. To answer the question there, it's not a preamp model. It's a very focused. It's an expander really. That's really tailored toward the vocal range. You can use it on guitars and some stuff too, but it's a soft open and close, so it helps you clean up all the background noise coming in into your mics. But separation of the element, yeah, basically. So I just don't want stuff sitting on top of each other because there's a lot of stuff going on. So I'm going to play the whole. I'm not going to use the vocals. This will just be the tracks key. I'll throw in the keys, the acoustic guitar that's played during this song, and the drum. The bassist plays the acoustic guitar, so you won't see anything happening on the actual bass channel. And then I'll throw the drums in. So let me just unsolo this stuff real quick. Vocals muted. So if I start over real quick, here we go. So add the keys. Play the acoustic guitar. So I don't know if you can hear this too well, but the reason I kind of offset the left side and favored the right side is because the high part of this guitar track is happening on the right, and I have the acoustic guitar pan going left. It's a bit of a grindy guitar, but it sticks out. I'm just going to throw the drums in there now for now as well. Cool. So that's the whole mix. Why not update my X32? Just haven't had a chance to yet.
Grunie, what the hell are you doing here? Grunie, what are you doing in E?
Yo,
I'm
teaching E.
What's the word I'm looking for?
What are you doing, E? Is the real question.
Ted wanted me to put a plug in for
Gate
my
crashing.
lighting show that I'm going to be doing on Monday, and that's it.
Oh yeah. Tell the viewers about that.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We're just gonna go into it. I think we're just gonna start from scratch, or maybe I'll show my show file that I've been working on. So there it is.
I would say it's definitely easier for you to show lights than for me to show audio over this. Oh, okay, that was Steve, everybody. Okay, so I'm gonna take some questions now because that's basically the end of my shtick. What IO did I use for the LV1? I was using the Crest Tactus piece. I don't want to be the guy that bashes the manufacturer, but I I'm not really happy with the performance I got out of that. I don't really have any good examples in this piece here, but there's some crosstalk and some weird distortion stuff going on. So I'm going to be moving away from the Tactus IO. Already answered the X-ray 2. Do I have? So I'm going to exit out of my screen share so it'll just be me, and then I'll just read the questions aloud as we go. There we go. Do I have Smart V7? I do. I have like the oldest version. I don't use it a ton. One of the things I've been taking advantage of, especially now that we're home so much, or indefinitely really, is if I've found a sound that I like in a plugin, but it's not going to be practical or the way I've done for me to reproduce it live, I will use this software called Loopback, and I will put pink noise into that plugin and then route that output into Smart and look at what it's doing. And then if there's like an easy way for me to replicate that inside of a console, I'll do that. So that's a cool trick to get some different results without having to go outside the console. Ever duplicate channel sources to pan or thicken parts? Guitars? Yes. I actually have 2 mics on my electric guitar. So I'll actually delay one of those mics and to do the Haas effect thing. And I'm a big fan of that. The acoustic guitar in that section, I wouldn't do that too, just because there's a counterpart to that already happening in the track. But yeah, I do enjoy having a second source to delay or to hard pan for sure. Last question for this round. Triggering the drums recommended. Depends on what kind of triggering you want to do. Next week, by the way, I'll have my buddy Ricky Ashford on, who mixes Keanu Day and a host of other great acts. And he, I believe, does have triggers live, but for his gates. And so definitely tune in and ask him some questions about that. On this particular kit, and let me see if I can get a picture real quick. I don't have a good one. Forget it. But I have plenty of space between the shell mics and the cymbals. So just dropping down the gate filters is good enough for that kit at least. Did I pay for Smart? I'd rather not say, but I've had that license for a very, very, very long time. Best reverb plugin. Looking for Slate Verb Suite Classics is fantastic. In fact, let me share my screen again because I'm using that as my drum reverb in this session. That is a fantastic reverb plugin, and you do get the Bricasti models in there. Oops, I meant to share a different screen. Hang on, I'm going to share the whole screen again so you can see the plugin. The Verb Suite Classics is really cool. I wish that there's a lot of plugins I wish that Waves would make SoundGrid compatible because I would use a lot of them, especially Verb Suite Classics because it's very easy to just get a good sound going. So here, let me show you Verb Suite Classics real quick if you're not familiar with it. I'm just going to mute all my other stuff. I'll just listen to the drum verb. I'm just gonna do a different song here. See what this is. I'm gonna do this song. Yeah, I want to do this song. Let's see. Mute this real quick. Yeah, Verb Suite Classics is a really, really, really cool verb. So basically, there's a preset menu here, and then if you do this load device, I'm sure you guys all know what these are. You get all these different models that you can load the actual presets from. It's a really good impulse verb, basically. So you got your 480, what is it? The Eventide 2016, 250 QRS 2000, which I believe is a Sony piece. RMX 16. This I think is the TC 6000, and then obviously the M7. So this is crystal plate on the M7 that I'm using with a bit of pre-delay added, and I'm just making it a little bit longer. And that's my like kind of drum verb. Usually I use 2 verbs, but I just threw the session up. So let me just fast forward to where the snare is playing again. You can really hear the verb. It's really, really great sounding verb, and it's so easy to get a good result. And then just the EQ I'm doing it, if you're curious, is just a high pass. And just I'm gonna take this out. So again, yeah, by default, not a bad. It's also a good sounding verb. I just wanted it a little thinner and brighter. And then on the B page of that, actually, I had a gated verb going on. It's loading up. So this is an impulse verb, so it does take a second to load up. You guys get the idea. Yeah, I like that H verb. Onboard verbs are cool too on the Digico, Avid, all that. Those are all usable. Drums sound pretty clear. Thank you. I'm gonna get rid of. There we go. Let's see. Bricasti, yeah, the Bricasti is great. I am actually looking at. I keep my eye on eBay every day to see if anybody's going to let go of one for cheap. Yeah, secret to the world famous Grunie toms. Have the drums tuned. Use a good mic. Put it in a good spot. I like to aim it at the center, where they're hitting it. And they're actually not that world famous. There are so many better people that have better toms than me. By the way, if you guys are not on YouTube watching the Pooch and Chris Raybould videos, please check those out as soon as we are done here. They are fantastic. Do I own a mic stand? Well, I didn't want to use one because I have this switched mic here. And this is just easier for me to hold this off. So, yes. Yeah, again, great. Sounds nice for drums, thanks. Do I have a Wavescript mic 32? I do not. Yeah, so anyone have any other questions?
Grunie, what's going on, man?
Questions for me? Questions for Ted? Oh, he's back. I thought you abandoned E.
How's it going over here, Grunie?
I think we're doing good.
You ready to wrap it up, or?
40 hell hardware for sale. Yeah, that would be really cool to own a 480. The thing though is I can't really fly with that. Don't I have a foot switch? No, I don't. I have a sustain pedal. That's like a trigger contact, but I don't have a foot switch. Any day is about SSL live console versus Digico. I don't know the SSL live console too well. I've actually just downloaded a partition to play with the offline software, and it seems really cool. It does a lot of the same stuff that Digico does in terms of the stems and group to group, which I am a big fan of. So it seems cool. I haven't had my hands on one for too much. I do know that they're pretty expensive, and not that many people have them in the regional market. So I have to say that I prefer Digico just because I do. So the Toms, bro, the Toms. Another time we'll do a whole episode on Toms.
Kay should be here Friday. Hopefully, we shall see. You never know with him. He's a crapshoot, but he should be here Friday.
You know what? Actually, let's do this. And we'll see how well this goes. But I actually do I use a lot of groups? Yeah, as much as I can. On the LV1, not as much because it doesn't really have group to group function. But I did have separate groups going for each of the stuff. I'll do maybe another week, another episode on going through the LV1 file versus the Digico file. So let's do this, just because everybody keeps asking for the toms. I pulled the toms into this session, but I didn't actually. I haven't actually processed them yet. So let me find. I'll just go through real quick and just get a quick sound going on them, and I won't even use. I'll use the stock stuff too just to show you how I like to do it. So let me do like a little loop right here. So this is just the rack tom muted. So I'm going to pull up real quick. I like the emo D5 gate. What I'm going to do right away, oops, just roll this right down. And it's a bit much. Start around here. Let's just see what we have going on. I don't like to do the floor all the way to infinity. I feel like the gate has an easier time closing if you don't do that. If you do, and because 30 dB is still a lot, so I feel like this gate and the Digico gate at least have an easier time closing all the way if you don't make them go all the way down. So let's listen to the key. Let's roll this down until we just hear the like the ring of the drum. Yeah, so that's kind of what I want out of that. So I'm going to start bringing the threshold up. Cool. So that's cool. And then we'll just do the emo Q4. Also going to actually real quick. So these three emo plugins are the channel strip components you get with an LV1 if you guys haven't spent too much time in front of one. So I'm actually going to just drag this filter in front of here. So that feels like a good spot. I might sneak that a little higher later. All right, so we got that gated. I'm going to tighten up this loop real quick so we're not waiting so long. And the spot I'll go to is like 400 or 500 area. So just I'll throw that into the verb. As to why that's not. Oh. And just for the sake of time, I'm going to drag these over. Oops. So this one's got a lot of crap in it. So we're just going to go hard into it. Come up around here. Should move this a little lower. Like I said, I just threw this session up. A little bit ago. Alrighty. So that snare sounds fat. Yes, thank you. Let's go through some questions real quick. Toms for the toms. How are we using the cat racks? Those are going to be amp rack drive. We're going to have a break-in box and then one of those in each amp rack and use them for system drive. Alan and Grief, yes. That's hilarious. Yeah, access the shop. Yep, yes we can. Yeah, I mean, so to answer our honest question, so I've said this before. DLive has a lot of really cool features. I just, the surface is not for me. I keep trying it, and I might end up there. We'll see. Let's see. Avantis is my yeah. We talked about that last week. How do I get my multi-tracks? That's from a tour. I recorded those. I have a hard drive full of shows that are, yeah, I have like 42 shows of that set. Avantis. You know what? I don't know too much about the Avantis yet. Um, a lot of people are going the route of, integrating their models into the consoles now. And we're starting to see that too with the Quantum series. And I'm curious to see how the Quantum trickles down to like the 10 and 12 and 8. So we'll see, because the Quantum does have they're not, they don't call them, or they don't have the graphics of that, but they do have different comp and preamp and models. Yes, we do own the SD5. Um, Fill sounds, yes, yes. Low passing is very important, just as much as high passing. Like I said, if you guys aren't watching the Pooch and Chris Raybould videos, please do that. He knows more than me. I'm just repeating stuff that I've heard him say over the past 8 years. So, yeah, guitars, low pass, even my hi hats a little bit. If we go back to it, I think I don't think it's low pass, but I take some high end out of that. Vocals a little bit of snare. Um, what else do I low pass? Yeah, there's low passing in the tracks even too. Um, what else? What software do I use to record my live shows? I love Tracks Live still, and I know that they are going to be discontinuing support for it going forward, which is okay because I haven't updated my Mac since I don't know when. Because right now all of my stuff works, and I want to keep it that way. So every day I click on the remind me tomorrow when the update my Mac comes up. But yeah, I like Tracks Live. It routes itself, ins and outs. I haven't had any problems with stability. So yeah, I like Tracks Live for that. I'll import it into Studio One or Pro Tools, but I have a template. Like for this show, I have a template that I just open up every day and save as, rename, give it the right name, and then hit record, arm record. So oh, what software do we use to record the live shows? Yeah, this is called Be Live. That was ambiguous. I apologize. Top 3 console choices. Obviously Digico, anything first. The LV1 is really cool, just not with the Tactus IO. That's pretty powerful. And God, what other consoles do I like? It's funny. Avid. I haven't had too much SXL time, but I remember when I first started getting into audio, and the profile was like the hot thing then, and being really into that and obsessed with it. And then I started using it, and I'm like, I don't love this that much. Um, but I think just because I know how to use it and it's available, I'd still put Avid in there. Um, yeah, I mean I know Arno's gonna give me some flack about this, but I wouldn't include the D Live in that just because I feel like it's not super fast to set up. Um, at least if I wasn't carrying a console, if I had to set that up, I'd be kind of annoyed about how long it takes to get something going. Have I used Reaper ever? No, but I hear good things about it, so I wouldn't discount it. How do I export the tracks and tracks recording? I don't even export it. So what I would do, let me just share my screen again. Is like when I'm done. And let's get my screen up. There we go. So like when I'm done with when I bring it into to mix, I just go to the file. So this is GD loss. This is tracks live creates a folder. Um, So this is GD Los Angeles, California, 101419. And go to interchange, GDLA, audio files, and then I just drag these all in. I don't export because if you export, you're creating another file, and you're taking up twice the memory. So there's no need to do that, in my opinion. So and I have 42. I keep two or three shows around to play with, and I have the rest on a hard drive. Yeah. Joining late. My question from earlier: Waves multi-rack is not. Yeah. So I still use multi-rack, and I don't have any problem with it. Super rack, as far as I know, came from a couple of people saying that they like that. They like the drag and touch and drag bar from the LV1. I was just watching a video on it yesterday, and the guy's example of it, he had like the VU meter plugin. I was like, if you're going out of the console just to insert a meter plugin, then that's stupid. Sorry. Yeah, Super Rack is expensive. Multi Rack was expensive too. I remember getting it. I remember when Tracks Live first came out, you could pay $100 for the support package, and it would include multi rack, and that's how I got multi rack. Um, I have not used Live Professor. I've heard of it. I don't know anybody that uses it. I don't know anything about how you get signal in and out of it, how stable it is. I know it's a VST host. But the other thing about that too is that it uses your computer's CPU, and I don't trust my computer's CPU. I don't know about you. I mean, I have an upgraded Mac. I have 16 gigs of RAM and an i5 and two 1 terabyte SSDs, and I still wouldn't trust this to process plugins for a show. But yeah, if there's a way to offload it into something, I'm sure. I can't answer. I can't really speak to it. I don't know too much about it. There's a website to learn online live sound and monitor. Yeah, if you go to YouTube, don't leave. We're not done yet. But after this, search Pooch, Chris Raybold, and he is starting to do. Every few days he posts videos, and it is really good stuff. If you don't know who they are, Pooch mixes front of house for Iron Maiden and Justin Bieber, among others, and Chris Raybold mixes Bruno Mars. So, some really high level information coming from those videos. So I recommend those a lot. Digico console horror stories. Not really. I had one time a power supply was feeding bad power back in. So even if you have two redundant power supply, if you have one that's feeding bad power back in, it'll still cause issues. And that had a little chain reaction effect. But other than that, I've had no issues. It's just hardware stuff, as like anything else would have hardware problems. You change a fader every so often. I don't own Super Rack. I do obviously. I'm very heavily invested in Waves more so, and I never really got into UAD, even though I know technically a lot of their models are better because um, as a return on investment and how much I'm able to use my Waves licenses, I can use them on basically any platform. I can have multi-rack sound grid. I can use them on a profile. SXL supports it and has been for some time now, and Digico obviously, and as well as LV1. So when Gus when my artist bought the LV1 package, they just bought the console license and the hardware, and I provided the plugin licenses. So I own the licenses. D-Live setup longer than Wing? I think it was. I mean, anything takes a second to get going. Honestly, I thought the SSL took a pretty long time to get set up yesterday on the offline editor. Keep scrolling down through here. Do I Same top 3 question for live PA rigs. L Acoustics K series, JBL VTX, and Adamson E series. And then D&B right behind that. But weirdly, I don't know about you guys. I have not had good times on J rigs. I've had good times on V and Q rigs, but I've never really liked J's that much. I haven't been in front of GSL yet, but that's supposed to be pretty cool. I am not really a Meyer fan. I feel like their high end is very sterile, and it like has a quality to it I don't really care for. Um, Everything else but the box is fine, but that just really annoys me on their boxes. Adamson's really cool if you guys haven't been in front of it, the E12 rigs and E15s. And obviously VTX is great stuff. Power it right. So we have A8s, A12s, V25s, and we did the V20s in the quad amp mode. And it was weird. The V20s, they're like, some days you turn them on, it was like sounded really great, and then sometimes like, this sounds weird. But yeah, I haven't had any. We run all of our VTX stuff, V5 presets, iTechs. And the G28s are like one of my favorite subs ever. I'm kind of disappointed we don't really have them anymore. We have S28s, and they technically go lower, but I think the difference there is that we have them on the carts most of the time, so you don't really get the coupling that you did from the G28s. And the G28s are so deep physically that you just get that extension. Cool. Yeah, those are my top 3 PA rigs. I've been in front of. I've heard Claire cohesion rigs. The shows I go to are going to be ones that aren't like a contemporary mix, so I can't really comment on a rig I haven't mixed on. Martin audio is a mixed bag. It depends on the box and who set it up for sure. Could talk about PAs for days. What else? What else sounds really good these days? You know what? One of the one of the rigs I had the best show on the last tour, laugh if you want, was an EV X-Array rig at the Metro in Chicago, and it was kind of not the most hi-fi sounding rig, but it was nice and warm, and it was just sounded really really good rig, and the room was solid and didn't have to do a lot to it. I own a Lake, by the way. It's not a new Lake; it's the old Mesa Quad EQ, 4 in 4 out, no Dante or anything like that, just a 4 in 4 out EQ that I got on eBay for under $1,500. And speaking of JBL, Vertec was definitely the box I think I did do the most for. 89 specifically. In the past, let's say the past year, I'd say Vertec rigs have been consistently among my least favorite because all the Vertec rigs I've come across have not been powered right. VTC Pro Audio, which is Yorkville, I am not a fan of either. I don't know how much protection software there is for it, and they tend to fall off very quickly. Also got multi-rack with the Trax Live promo. If you these days multi-racks won't run with V11 plugin super. Yeah. So I'm sticking with multi-rack as long as I can. Most of my licenses are still V9, and the ones I've bought, in the past. How long has it been since V10 has come out? That I have there, but everything still tends to work on V9 for me. I stick to V9 because it works, and I know it works. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I tend to get stuck in my ways with certain things, especially with like the Waves versions or software that I like or consoles, because it just becomes like a shoe that I fit right into, and I know it. There's stuff that I know it works, and uh, I for me with this artist I work for, I also production manage, and so having not having to think about software stuff that miss or finding new stuff, and hoping it works makes my life a lot easier. So I like that. When is Ted going to do a mix for bands? I don't know, Ted. When are you going to do that? Yeah, we were talking about that last week. Live Professor seems, yeah, and I also don't know what the in-out latency for that is, or if it has any kind of delay compensation groups. What are my thoughts on Digico stopping doing the plugin mapping for buttons? If you're talking about them taking multi-rack out of the console, I think that was the best thing they ever did. It was really cool and convenient that they did that, but at the same time, it always took forever to boot up, and it drew a lot on the CPU resource on the GPU resources as well. And it was any kind of issues were in that internal loopback software. So I'm glad they took it out. It's an extra piece you have to carry now, but you can get a better resolution, and you're not worrying about your console freezing up because the loopback software was weird. I like having it outside the console. What about Meyer? Yeah, I talked about that. I'm not a huge Meyer fan. Ted will do sound for. I've actually done sound for Cardi B before. Um, New Year's Eve in Brooklyn, like 2 years ago. It was me. It was me and Steve. It was a fun show. It was a long night. How about KV2? I have not been in front of KV2 before. I've heard they're supposed to be really cool. Um, don't know anybody around here that has one, and I've never come across one on tour. Um, Subs exploded at Cardi B. No, that was the other time at Knockdown Center. I don't think that was me. Ever use a Kiva rig? I haven't mixed a band on it, but yeah, we've done some work with with a company that owns a Kiva rig, and that's a really cool little rig. I like L acoustics, everything basically. Um, Another side note too is if you guys aren't watching the L acoustics webinars every day, check those out. There's some really good stuff there. Um, yeah, Kiva's cool. The rigging's interesting. Like you have to like slide it on. But it's a really powerful little box. Trying to scroll down here. Let's see. Ted, I mixed a band of weird. Ted, you want to throw that one up on the screen real quick? Who's to stay with recording? Yeah, I mean, I'm not a recording guy. I like to record my shows so I can play with them later. But yeah. Am I growing my hair out during quarantine? Not on purpose. People sleep on EVs. Yeah, the XLD, not XLD, XLC rigs can sound solid. X-Ray, I had some good shows on that. I had some good shows on X-Ray rigs last tour, and some not so good shows. Some rigs were more worn than others. This rig in Milwaukee was, I mean, it was a terrible room to begin with, but yeah. What is my tune to? It's not that I'm not a smart fan. A lot. So the way this last tour worked in particular was I kind of pinned the deck and all that time. So by the time I was up front making noise, it was kind of throw the PA up, see what it sounds like, do some work for a little bit, some virtual sound check, get the band out, and go. So and then get the support act on. I do use Smart when I can, when it's appropriate to. Um, I really should have used it more this past tour, but one of the things I learned with it too is um, I tend to use Smart to answer specific questions. If something doesn't sound right, or if you kind of tend to know the answer already before you measure it, um, and that kind of just verifies it. If you use PowerSoft amps, I'm sure I've mixed through a rig that was powered by PowerSofts. I've never set them up or used what's the control software called? Harmonia. Um, but yeah, I mean, some of the stuff they're doing. I've definitely mixed on a rig that has some PowerSoft amps. That's a lie. And they were cool. It's definitely really cool how they get so much power into one rack space. Point source better than line arrays. Throwing up the deployment rate. Say it's outside. I think deployment is the whole thing, is what you're trying to do. I just did this gig in Marion, Ohio, in this old theater, and they ground. It's a band that has a really loud stage volume, and what they did. So it's they had like an installed like paging and cinema system. It wasn't really meant for bands. So they had a ground stacked VTC rig. It was 5 aside. Front of house was all the way like up in the balcony in the back, and the boxes went 1 2 0 0 0 0 like 10 0. So I think maybe in that situation, better deployed trap rig would have been more appropriate than that line array, because that coverage was really piss poor. Say it's outside, depends. Again, I mean, if you watch, go look up Eric Clapton in Hyde Park from '97, and when they do these pan out shots, it's a trap rig and it's enormous. Probably like Shoko or something like that. And for the rock and roll look, that was cool. I know AC/DC in like 2007 was still using X-Ray because that's like the look they wanted. But in terms of like deployment and truck space and stuff, I think the line array makes a lot of sense, and they sound, they sound good. Who are the sound engineers I look up to? Pooch, for sure. Robert Scoville. Who else? Those are the big two for sure. Chris Rabel is a great guy. I don't really know him too well. God, who are some of my other favorites? Yeah, it's funny. I don't really go to that many shows, but the guy that makes this guy Robert Collins, Ted, you could have texted him. This guy Robert Collins that mixes the Who and Eric Clapton's really great, really natural mixer. Adamson line arrays, yep. Do some work for a company down in South Jersey that's got E12s, and they sound really good. Dave Rat, yeah. I mean, yeah, Dave Rat's cool. I've like been adjacent to. I haven't actually met him for whatever. I'm like 6 feet away from him. He's a cool dude. Some interesting theories and stuff. So Ted's giving me the wrap it up signal. So thanks for coming out, guys, and thanks for watching. Appreciate all the questions. I hope you guys got something out of this. Let me know. Leave a comment if you have some ideas of something you want to see later. Next time, but definitely tune in next week. I'm gonna have my friend Ricky Ashford here. We're gonna have a great conversation about whatever you guys want us to talk about. So definitely be here for that. Let me just answer this question real quick. Ever use anything Soundcraft? Yeah, I've used the VIs a couple of times. They're cool. They're a bit funky, but they sound good, and the UI is neat. The SIs I'm not that fan of. So yeah. Pressure play. Is that Teddy? Thanks for making my bed for this. Yeah, you know what? Yeah. So yeah, all right. I'm gonna wrap it up there. But yeah, thanks for coming out, guys. Definitely be here next week. It's gonna be one you won't want to miss. All right, Ted, take it away.
And don't forget about Friday. See you next time.
By the way, just thanks for listening to me